In this lesson, we will learn about matter. The objectives of this lesson are to be able to define matter and identify its main characteristics. Physics describes the interaction of matter and energy within the fields of mechanics. There are 4 different areas of physics, as you can see here, defined as classical mechanics, relativistic mechanics, quantum mechanics, and quantum field theory. In this course, we will focus on classical mechanics. Maintenance technicians need to be able to understand physics in order to explain how things work and quantify operations around us. So some examples of this are engines, aerodynamics, and thrust. Matter is defined as what all things are made of, and it occupies space, has mass, and is perceptible to the senses. Matter is one of the main building blocks of physics. The law of conservation states that matter cannot be created or destroyed, but it can change its physical state. An example of matter that changes state is when an ice changes to water, which then changes to steam. It starts as a solid, goes to a liquid water, and then changes into steam. Another example is liquid gasoline that vaporizes and mixes with air and then burns as a gas. Mass is the measure of the quantity of matter in an object, and it does not change with the location or state of the object. In order to calculate mass, we have weight is divided by the acceleration due to gravity. So for example, Earth's acceleration due to gravity is 32.2 feet per second, and one slug is equal to the mass of 32.2 pounds. Weight is a measure of the pull of gravity acting on the mass of an object. The greater the mass of the object, the greater the weight it has. We calculate weight by doing mass times gravity. An example of this is in space. Astronauts are not weightless, but they are in a constant state of free fall. Attraction is the force acting mutually between particles of matter and that tends to draw them together. The law of universal gravitation states that every particle attracts every other particle. Porosity is defined as something that has pores or spaces where smaller particles may fit when a mixture takes place. So for example, take this jar of marbles. In this jar, we can then add something that's smaller, so for example, beads that will fit between the marbles. After that, we can add sand, which fills up more of the space. This is an example of something that has pores. Impenetrability states that no 2 objects can occupy the same place at the same time. Density is defined as a substance's weight per unit volume. In order to calculate the density, we need to know both the weight and the volume. It's also important to note that temperature can change the volume because of expansion and contraction. The units of density are seen here, both in the English and metric system. We also need to know the units of volume, seen here, in order to calculate density. Now let's look at an example of how to calculate density. If a liquid weighs 1,497.6 pounds, is in a container that is 4 feet by 3 feet by 2 feet, what is its density? Let's remind ourselves of the formula for density. So we have density is equal to the weight divided by the volume. So in this case, we have D is equal to 1,497.6 divided by 24 feet cubed. We know that this is 24 because we multiplied the 4 times the 3 times the 2 to get the volume of the container. Calculating this out, we get a density of 62.4 pound per feet cubed. Specific gravity is a term used to compare densities of different substances. Water is used to compare the densities of liquids and solids, and hydrogen is used to compare the densities of gases. As you can see here, we have 2 different equations for specific gravity depending on the quantities that we are given. Now let's look at an example. If we have a hydraulic fluid that has a specific gravity of 0.8, that tells us that 1 foot cubed of the liquid weighs 0.8 times as much as 1 foot cubed of water. Since we know that 1 foot cubed of water is equal to 62.4, if we multiply that times 0.8, then we get that it weighs 49.92 pounds. An application of the specific gravity is a hydrometer, which is seen here. This is a tool that can be used to measure the specific gravity of liquids. In summary, physics is the interaction of matter and energy. We have also looked at different characteristics of matter, including weight, attraction, porosity, and impenetrability. Other characteristics of matter that we have discussed are density and specific gravity.